Welcome to Rick's Corner. I got John Hart back. He's a really good guest to have. He has a lot of knowledge about training. We were talking about high reps and low reps and heavyweight, lightweight. And what do you do? I mean, you get stuck between, should I go heavy today or should I go light, or should I do high reps or should I do low reps? I like to mix it up a little bit at my age, and I don't go really heavy anymore, but I do a little bit more reps.
Yes.
I think I feel a little bit more. I did something yesterday. I'm shooting a workout video, and I went to the gym and I did my whole body. I did every exercise I do for each body part.
I saw that post.
One set each.
Yes. Yes. At
the end of the, I was done. I was just completely spent.
Gassed.
Yeah,
yes.
Totally.
Yes.
And I wasn't even going heavy. I mean, I was going light, but I was doing reps and I was holding it. We were going from thing to thing to thing to thing, which reminded me that back in the 60s, we did the whole body workouts 3 times a week.
Yes.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's all we had access to. Steve Reeves and the guys did the same thing. And I made my best gains on that.
Well, now tell me this. When you did that one set, did you take this to failure?
No.
Was the last repetition
You
close?
talking about yesterday?
Yes.
No. This was just for video purposes.
Okay.
So I just did what it's just like Joe Weider used to shoot Arnold and Franco with all this heavy weight and struggling with it, but they didn't work out with it.
Okay.
It's for the photo. So when I shot the video and my girlfriend shot it for me, I just wanted to get the exercises in, and she kept shooting and I kept doing reps. And okay, I've done enough already. I could have done more, and I didn't, but it wasn't a workout. It was just basically to demonstrate what we're doing.
Okay, but back in the day, you mentioned how the guys used to train 3 times a week. And they used to do full body.
Well, you always had a spotter, and you always got that last rep, and they're helping you and helping you and helping you. So yeah, you're going to failure.
Failure.
Yes.
Okay, so now that's what we're talking about here.
But
because
yeah,
I mentioned to you a little in one of our previous discussions how whether we do higher reps or lower reps, and even when Rich Piana mentioned it on one of your previous shows with him, about how he likes to pump the muscle and do higher reps.
Yeah.
Whether you're being on gear versus being natural, right? He mentioned natural, you should be shooting for heavier weights, and lower repetitions. You got to build strength too.
Yes.
However, the factor that I found most important, and there's studies on this out there, is taking it to the very end. Whether you're doing 25 or 30 reps, I mean, that last couple of reps has got to be a little bit of that fight or flight, all out, just effort. And that's just going to say grow. That's just going to say change.
You can't do that many sets like that.
No,
it's too hard. If you can't do 5 sets and then go another exercise 5 sets, you'll kill yourself.
Well, now you're talking my language now, because you know that Mike Mentzer trained me.
Okay.
Back in the mid '90s,
right.
And I was heavily influenced by him and his heavy duty training.
Well, wasn't he and Arthur Jones under they had this thing where you would do 1 set to failure.
Yes.
And then you go to something else.
Yes.
But it wasn't doing like 12 sets of body part.
No.
At all.
No. An entire workout. Arthur Jones was really, a sort of counterculture to the time period, right?
Yeah.
During the golden era.
Yeah, you guys look up Arthur Jones. There's a lot of history there.
A lot there.
He invented the Nautilus machine.
Yes, yeah. Nautilus, and that was really the vehicle that really blasted it all over the world.
Right.
So his idea of training was more of a circuit or a rush factor, high intensity. Yes, heavy weights, 8 to 12 reps per set, 1 set per body part, in some cases multiple exercises per body part, but it was one all out, balls out set.
Yeah.
Mike Mentzer took that routine from the smack in the middle of the golden era, and he took that routine and he took it to another extreme of doing 1 set per body part, for sure, without doing multiple sets.
Right.
And when he trained me, I have to say, wow, it worked.
You have to pick the exercise that works best for you for that one body part.
Fact. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And the routines that Mike Mentzer talked about and all of his heavy duty routines, you guys can find them online. Great routines. It respected your recovery ability. It worked great on natural guys. That's here we are. And so 6-7 days a week being natural just does not happen. It doesn't work. It's you're digging into the well. You're dipping in the well too often, too many times.
We spoke about this yesterday. In fact, Doug Bernoulli and I were talking about after having a post-workout drink after you train.
Yes.
And I had someone else on here, Jay Bednar, who told me the same thing. And I heard this years ago, that someone was telling me they ate gummy bears after they trained.
Yes.
To get the glycogen and the glucose up in the body.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get those insulin levels up to sort of,
Yeah, well, I've done it the past 3 days, and I think I don't feel so tired afterwards.
Yeah, it aids your recovery. Okay,
Yeah.
It helps it for after the workout is over with. But
right.
Specifically, Rick, when we get back to it, you guys that are out there have been sending in questions. I mean, I get them through the internet. I
Right.
get them through, email and all that.
Right.
Because of our interviews. Okay, so
Right.
many people have seen these interviews. It's amazing.
I know.
And they keep asking me questions about, okay, what do you do? How are you doing it in the gym? How are
Yeah.
you training?
Yeah.
And and specifically, I do want to get across that while I was so heavily influenced by Mike Mentzer, and I even taught his workouts for the last, I did it for 4 years for Joanne Sharkey for heavy duty, 4 or 5 years for all of our phone consultations for people around the world. I'm an individual, and I'm interested in stage bodybuilding. That's my thing. And a lot of that teaching that Mike Mentzer taught me formed the foundation of what I do now, which is somewhere, between a Mike Mentzer, extreme 1 set per body part and the Dorian Yates workouts, if you remember his.
Sure.
Dorian worked out 4 days a week.
Yep.
I saw him myself at Gold's Gym in Venice, and as much as people want to say, that the guy did multiple sets of exercises, I watched the guy myself warm up. I warm up like he does.
Yeah.
I warm up like a power lifter, really.
Yeah.
I don't do a set of 20, 15, 10, and then all of a sudden I'm at my working weight.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I'll warm up with an easy set of 10, very easy. And then if I'm going to squat that day, a set of 10. An easy set, increasing the weight of maybe 5. And then a set of 3, or maybe even a set of 2 at that
Right.
point. But I'm ready to go at that point. So it's basically adjusting my system and my nervous system to the increased weight with a slight warm-up for a few repetitions. So when we get into it and we get down to the training, just like Dorian, I saw myself with my own eyes. It was 1 balls out set. And then he moved on to the next exercise, multiple exercises. For stage bodybuilding in 2015, natural stage bodybuilding, you better be training with a few exercises here and there, and that's what I have found for me.
Yeah.
And while I am all the way on the extreme of the bell curve as far as doing the least amount necessary, that is me, and that is what I teach. And you see it in my book. Guys, thank you again for buying the book.
Yeah, where do they get the book?
Mr. America's Shape Up series, and it's on Amazon.com.
Okay.
They can find it on the internet as well. It's in 5 media outlets, but Amazon.com is the best. You'll have a picture of it. And basically, those workouts that I teach are getting across the least amount necessary to get the most results. I'm a 1 set guy once I'm warmed up. And then I'm wham bam, and I move on to the next exercise. Now, within that set, it may not just be to positive failure. As you know from the golden era, you guys did use negatives. You know? I mean, and so I'll use negatives to really intensify it. Maybe I'll just do a straight set of negatives.
I don't know if people know what negative is. I think some do and some don't. And what he's talking about, when you're doing curls and you're really working your bicep, you let it down slow and let it fight both ways. Because so many people bring it up and they just drop it. They bring it up and they just drop it. The muscle's only working one way. You got to work it 2 ways. So if you're flexing and you're coming up and you come down and resisting, it's working to fight all the way up and down. And you get like a double whammy out of it.
Yes, and if you're talking within a standard set of lifting and lowering a weight. There are times where I'll take a 6-week period. And again, I write about it, but and we can go into way more depth than the 15 minutes we got right here now. But sometimes I'll go in the gym and I'll load that bar up with, an extra 30 or 50% weight, and I'll have my partner and myself lift it up, and all I'll do is lower that weight.
Yes,
only.
I forgot about that. We did that a lot. We always had a partner who brought you up and held extra reps and held it coming down. I mean, back in the days I did too. Now I don't because I don't have a partner, but I don't know if I would do that anymore at my age. I might try it.
Yeah,
I mean, if I get past the joint pain, I'm good. It's just one of those things.
Well, static holds might work great on you. That's another technique that I use, is taking a weight that's super heavy, 30 or 50% heavier than my normal that I could do for a set of 10 repetitions, and I'll hold it in place on a good, let's say, a good curl machine.
So then you're not really overusing the joint.
It's not moving at all.
Exactly.
But the muscle doesn't know what hit it.
Yeah.
It just knows that a seriously heavy weight, it had to resist up against a serious heavy weight.
Right.
And when that happens, it's stimulated. More fibers are fired.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we can go on about all the details of it, but in essence, my workouts end up being for myself as well as the majority of my clients, but myself specifically, I don't work out more than, on average 2-3 times on any given 8-day cycle. And during that cycle, those workouts are no more than 40 minutes in length from beginning to end. And those workouts are, depending on the body part, I may only do 1 set of biceps like I just described.
Right.
Or on a back workout, I may use 3 exercises and use some seriously high intensity techniques and then go and do standard traditional deadlifts at the end.
So you switch it up a lot.
Yeah, in that regard, it is, it leans towards the Dorian thing at some times of the year, where Dorian did multiple sets per exercise, but Dorian worked out 4 times in a week. And now we're talking about the difference between, again, natural versus, drug-free versus using.
Yeah.
I got to respect it, so I take more days off in between those workouts. I could split it exactly the same way, but whereas he might have taken 1 day off in between his workouts, I may need 2. And at times I may need 3, depending on how severe those workouts are. Because you can get pretty sore from doing a set of total negatives.
Sure.
So it might keep you from going back to the gym again. And that's the thing. For me, it's only about doing the least amount necessary to get the most results.
There's so much time wasted in the gym. I've said this many times. I see people in there 2 or 3 hours and get back in the afternoon, and I'll see them the next day. And I've known them for years and years, and their body never changes. They're just spending all their time in there and really not doing much or accomplishing. Their head's not really into it. They're going through the motions, and they don't understand. I've one guy in particular, he's probably close to my age. He hasn't changed in 10 years, and he came to me one time and said, I want to do bodybuilding exercises. I said, okay, here's what you have to do. A few of us guys said, this is what you have to do. He trains in a circuit with a trainer with 3 guys and 4 women. And they do the same thing every day for years and years, and it's not happening. But he wasn't willing to give up his trainer because he felt loyal to him, and he didn't train him like a bodybuilder. So he's never gotten anything.
Hey, when it comes to bodybuilding, with an eye, to get on stage, it's quite different. And I do want to address this because some of the guys, a friend of mine showed me again those comments that are made to our videos that we've shot, you and I. And when you have an eye to compete on stage, it's it's quite different than just in the gym. You really have to question, what is your purpose in doing this? Anybody can look big, training and eating extra food. And we remember last time we met, you talked about putting on the flannel and the 4 layers of clothing in the middle of the summer, right? You can look big all the time with those clothes on if you want, and make your forearms get all pumped and veiny, and in the gym and lift big weights. That's just not my thing as far as in the gym. I don't train to impress people, and within the realm of what I do in natural bodybuilding, the WNBF is my organization, the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation.
Right.
And in 2015, I'm starting to promote now, so I'm starting to move from competing into promoting, and it's a worthwhile thing for me. I like to give that option, to other competitors out there who may be interested in competing in natural bodybuilding. But, with an eye towards that stage, you can't look like a gorilla walking around all year round. It doesn't work that way.
Well, look at Frank Zane. He never did. He had an awesome body.
Yes, he did. And he was Mr. Olympia 3 times, So, some of you guys might say that he has, a swimmer's body. He might look like a swimmer in his clothes, right? And, hey, I remember meeting Frank Zane at his peak. He was in New York. And I saw him, and I remember as a young man, I was a boy. I remember looking at him going, wow, he's small. And when Mike Mentzer went up against him in 1979 in the Olympia, he dwarfed him, but he lost to him. So again, it takes a strong ego in check. You got to have that ego in check to be able to walk around like that and look towards the stage, not towards, hey, when I'm walking down the block today with my girlfriend,
well, it's like when people come up and say, boy, you lost a lot of weight, or they'll tell me, you were much bigger back in the 70s. I said, basically, I weighed about the same.
There you go.
I weigh about the same. I just happen to wear different clothing. I'm not trying to show it off by any means. And I want to stay leaner and harder as I age, because it's healthier. I don't care about walking around pumped up and looking thick anymore. It's just not my thing.
You feel better, right?
Exactly.
By the way, great videos of your wrestling that you've put up on Facebook.
Oh, that's
if you haven't seen his Facebook page, wow, great videos, great stuff, man.
Well, I want to thank you for being here. We're going to put your book up so that people can go look at it and buy it. Be sure and write John. You can email him, ask him questions, and he'll be back from time to time. We'll do a series of these things.
That'll be great. That'll be great. Get me on. You can get me on Facebook. I'm on all the social media, Twitter.
John Hart, H-E-A-R-T,
and my website, H-E-A-R-T.
So I just said.
Did you? I did. Okay. So that's it.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Rick.
All right.
Racing.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.